the co-hosts are too much of a liability for it to be live.
I know, right?
Are we ready?
Whenever you
Is
guys
it rolling?
Yeah.
It's already rolling.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yay.
Hive Mind episode 4. Welcome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, am I supposed to like get closer to this or does it matter?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool.
I can fix it in the editing.
Okay, all right.
To our viewers, I apologize. I'm a little sick, so sorry.
All this pollen.
All this pollen.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll hop straight into it. Why don't you tell us about yourself in the Mountain Town Market?
Okay. Hello, my name is Meg Kabotie Adakai, and I was born and raised here in Flagstaff. And I love doing community events. So I started as selling for vendors a long time ago at the Flagstaff Community Market, and then I managed Flagstaff Community Market for 4 years, with the first year being the pandemic, which was crazy. And then last year I started my own market called Flagstaff Mountain Town Market, and it's kind of still evolving. I'm kind of trying to take what I love and run with it, and I guess kind of just continue to make community events that include sort of all the aspects that I'm passionate about and that make a community, which is, you know, like our farmers, our artists, our musicians, our dancers, our performers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm just sort of trying out a lot of new things. I feel like I sort of survived last year because it's hard to start a new business.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard later that it's particularly hard to start a new business in a year for a big upcoming election. So, yeah, I
Especially
know.
with all how the markets are going currently.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, so we'll just see. But we're just riding the wave and
Mm-hmm.
doing the best we can day by day.
Yeah,
That's what you can do.
I see Alex is like really excited about this market starting to flourish and about to take place. When does it start?
So it's gonna start the first Friday in May, and we're gonna try to do 22 markets from May until through September. So we're gonna try to do every Friday. You know, Flagstaff weather is crazy, and it's kind of seems like the longer the day goes, the more chance you have crazy weather patterns. But I really think that it's gonna be great here because there's sort of this like protection from the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, you know, we're going to be working with Frederica, and she has these cool covers, so we can have sort of indoor outdoor space, which is really awesome because I'm sort of used to doing markets where it's like if there's bad weather you just have to
You
like
just have to deal with it.
bat down the hatches.
Yeah.
But at least with here we can come inside or cover things if we need to, and we have access to bathrooms and electricity, which is
Mhm.
kind of a luxury, but
Yeah.
super excited. And I think it's really cool too because, you know, we're downtown, but we're south of the tracks, and so we're trying to like bring people south of the tracks. And I think that this like little row on Phoenix Ave is awesome because it's like, you know, you have art galleries, you have the Hive, which is just this awesome music hub, and then you have 4A, which is like a really cool restaurant, and they're usually closed, but they've agreed to stay open to sell drinks, which is going to be a super cool vibe because most markets don't allow alcohol.
Nice.
Nice. That's super exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So, you know, just pairing the music and the art and the food and
How long does it go to
drinks.
again?
Till the last Friday in September.
Okay.
So we're gonna give it a try and just see how it goes. And you know, it takes a while sometimes to build something, but you never know. Like, I mean, I guess we can all just like give our best predictions of what's gonna happen, but you know, there's always surprises. So
Mhm.
maybe we start it and it's like overwhelmingly great, which would be amazing. But
That's the hope, right?
yeah.
I know, like, Phoenix Ave is always, like, a weird street for me,
Uh-huh.
right? Like, very few people just, like, cross between Beaver and San Francisco
Yeah.
randomly.
Yeah.
It's almost intentional to be on the street.
Yeah.
And having a market makes it even more intentional, I think, and will give a lot of good promotion for businesses that are currently here, but also, yeah, I don't know. It's cool that this is happening, I think.
Totally. I think so too. Yeah. I am. Sorry, go ahead.
What made you think of Phoenix Avenue as a spot for this market?
Well, I think sort of like the collective mind, which is like, I'm a longtime Flagstaff resident, and then I'm just happy to have the input of so many like cool, influential people. And I actually love to pick the mind of Dapper Dre, and he like a year ago was like, hey, it'd be a cool spot to do Phoenix Ave because, all the reasons that we just talked about.
Yeah.
And then B-Dub, B-Dub the artist, he is always like promoting stuff and working with Frederica in the Phoenix Ave Art Gallery. And so then he was like, oh, we should like try to do more stuff over here. And then Alec owns the Hive, and he was like, hey, I think we should. And so I'm like, okay, well, input of like 3 awesome people that I super respect, and then my own just kind of thinking that it would be cool because, if we can grow this thing, like what you were saying of how this street is like, you almost have to be like intentional to be on it. That's sort of a perfect street to have a market on, because it's like, it's not like if we close the street, people are going to freak out because they can just go one more block and do what they need to do. So, that was, we did markets in front of Heritage Square on that block of Aspen for a year. We tried it, and people lost their minds about it because they were just like so upset that we were closing the street and like parking and all this stuff. And
how dare you inconvenience me?
Yeah, which is just silly. But I think having like a downtown walkable space, I'm hoping that's what this will grow into, because right now we're not going to start off doing a street closure. We're going to just kind of like keep it small here, but I'm hoping that it'll grow to that, and then it'll be super awesome. And that wall over by the lumberyard is like so beautiful. That has the murals on it.
Oh yeah, the Route
think,
66 mural.
Yeah, I mean, and there's trees on it too. I mean, like during the summer things get hot sometimes, and so it's just really nice to. It's like, it seems like the perfect place to do a little market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you want to start small. How many slots do you think would be like available at the beginning to end? And
well, I do this like funny little 3-pace measurement. So like
almost like 10 feet-ish.
Yeah. So like vendor spaces, the canopies are usually 10 feet by 10 feet. So we kind of mapped it out there, and we're still like being flexible for, if people want to do only tables or if people want to do a full canopy spot. But I'm imagining that I'm hoping to start off with like 10 to 15 vendors and just kind of see how it goes. I know that we're going to be working with you because y'all will be having concerts starting at 7. So we're going to try to run our market from like 3 to 7-ish and just kind of see how that goes. I think it'll be really cool. It'll be maybe crazy a little bit, but
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. Yeah.
I don't know if you have the numbers for you, but do you know how much each slot would cost?
So we were thinking about it, and I think we're gonna do a $30 fee per market.
Okay.
Or if people want to pay up front, like all together
for like a whole season.
Yeah, we can. 30 times 22 is kind of a lot, but it's hard though, because I mean, I don't know. Alec and I keep talking about this too, is like finding that balance between, it's like, I really want to make things accessible for people, but I also want it to be sustainable, and so like I've had a lot of talks with different people about like arguments for charging like a fee and then for like making it free, and so we're trying to kind of like split the difference, I guess, and I really do want to be able to just pay, musicians, if they want to come through, and just and also to be able to pay ourselves too, because it's like that's one of the problems sort of, I guess, with being an artist or being like a musician or being someone so passionate because you love it so much that sometimes you're like, I'll just do it for free, but then you're like, oh shit, I gotta pay the bills and I gotta keep the lights on, and and so we have to make it sustainable, and so that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. Cool.
We've kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but like, what was the inspiration for starting something like this, and like, what's your ultimate goal?
I think my ultimate goal, and well, the inspiration for it is just that I think we all are people that love our community and love to support it and love to support the arts and music, and just to make a cool, fun space. And so, like, the ultimate goal, I think, would be that we just make this a freaking cool place to come hang out on Fridays. Like, let's go south of the tracks, let's go hang out at the Friday PM market and listen to some music and support some artists. And I have like a business that's sort of growing as being like a farmer and an aggregator. So I slang produce all weekend long, so I can set up my little produce booth. And I'm also trying to make it I'm trying to make it like a full circle kind of thing. So it's like, if I don't sell all of this like awesome produce and like artisan made foods, I really want to start doing like a prepared foods business with it too. So that way, it's like nothing goes to waste. And I have 2 kiddos, and I'm like teaching them about small business right now, and there's like the term, you eat the cost if you don't sell it. But I'm like, well, we can literally eat the cost. We can eat this food that we didn't sell. So how does it taste? And anyway, so that's like my ultimate goal, but baby steps. And so I think I like a couple years from now, I would love to see a street closure for this whole Phoenix block, and just like canopies and people like 4A being maybe even open, like not just for drinks but like for food too, and putting some more food trucks in, and just having a lot of super fun music and all that.
Yeah, I know we've talked about like having a street closure just for like a music festival that we've been talking about for like just randomly in the back for years.
That'd be awesome.
Well, me and Alec mostly, but like Logan's in that conversation as well.
That'd be cool to be able to bring it together to make it kind of like a whole one huge event, like Flagstaff local community music art fest.
Yeah, that would be super cool. It would be so fun.
It's always important to have like a community space like that where people can come together and really like share their crafts and meet other people that are also creative. And like, I feel like it's really hard to meet new people, and when you can have like a really cool event and safe environment, it takes away a lot of that stress of finding new people and creatives to meet up with. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be really cool.
Me too.
What kind of vendors do you think you want to have? We kind of talked about that a little bit too, but like...
I mean, I'm hoping just for passionate people that love what they do and want to share it. So, like, I feel like I have sort of like a core base of vendors that I've worked with throughout, but I'm also really excited to meet new vendors. So, I imagine like, I hope to have cool food. I hope to have, ceramics and jewelry, and there are even people that will like work with gourd art and, like crochet stuff, and then, let's see, what else? Mushrooms, prepared foods. There's one guy that makes like, I don't know, musical instruments, I think, that, and it's funny, like, I'm like racking my brain too, because over the years I've like worked with hundreds of vendors, and I'm just trying to like think about, what were some of the ones that, woodworkers are super cool. And then there's even like really cool sort of niche things that like I have a neighbor who raises sheep, and he makes like wool pellets that you put in your in your soil to make it like add nutrients and make it more like hold water more, I guess. And so
That's
just
cool.
like even just like weird things like that, you know, or like I think it's cool that I'm half Hopi and we're close to 2 reservations, and you know, like I want to like one of my main missions for my market is to sort of like to invite everybody, but to give special recognition to like people that have maybe been marginalized or not, you know, seen as much. And so like cool things like cooking ash. I had a vendor who came to my last market, and she sells culinary ash, which is like a thing you probably know about. That's like, it's how you nixtamalize your corn, and how you make a lot of like indigenous dishes. And sometimes people are like, what? You're putting juniper ash in your food? But like, you know,
Yeah.
just cool things like that that are like, you know, really specific to our region that also provide education.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You said you've been doing a market for a year now somewhere else?
Yeah, I've been doing a market like all over this earth. Just kidding, just in Flagstaff. But
Same
so
thing.
yeah, no. So I always say like Flagstaff Mountain Town Market has room for another M in there. So like when I have a big parking lot like the City Hall lot, it's Flagstaff Mountain Town Mega Market. But then when I have like tiny spaces or vendor or like people invite me to participate in other events, I'll like smush it down and be like Flagstaff Mountain Town Mini Market. And then I've been working with Forestdale Farm and Superyard Farms on this big USDA grant that we got, but then they were like, oh, just kidding, we're not going to give it to you because of all the stupid political stuff right now. But then they were like, oh, just kidding, we are. But we still haven't got the money. But if we do get the money, we'll be able to get a refrigerated trailer and a refrigerated van. And at that point, it could be Flagstaff Mountain Town Mobile Market.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So anyway, I'm just kind of like, I'm still just trying to like go with the flow, see what works, see what doesn't, and just kind of like do it all. So I've been doing markets in the City Hall lot. I've been doing markets on the east side in the Pine Forest parking lot on the corner of 4th Street and Cedar. And those are like summer markets on Saturdays. And then I participate in, last year I helped out with Flagstaff Music Festival, which is in September. And yeah, so what else? I don't know. I'm sure I'm forgetting something else. I'm also part of Food Link, which is a nonprofit, and so we do like an indigenous farmers market at the Colton Community Garden, which is like by the Museum of Northern Arizona off 180. And then I'm also on the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff, which is a nonprofit, and we're putting on a little indigenous market over near Thorpe Park, probably in June. And then I've been working with Coconino Center for the Arts, so I did a holiday market over there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm just like manic about markets, I guess. Whatever.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
I always enjoy going to markets because like you never know what you're gonna find there sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you said, like all these random vendors can be there.
Yeah.
And it's just like a nice surprise.
Yeah. And I love being outside. Like I just hate being indoors, so anything that I can do that's outside, it makes me happy.
Like markets are always so much more authentic, you know, like you get realer people there and like realer products and yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can talk to somebody about like how it was made or how it was grown or whatever, and they're like usually really passionate about it because they did it.
Right?
Yeah.
For vendors that like want to be a part of that, how would they like apply?
So I have a Google form, and so Alec keeps telling me to make a link tree, which I haven't done yet. Maybe you could help me with that. Or, but I'm gonna do it super soon. But I mostly tell people to like reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, and then I can just send them the link. And once I make a link tree, I'll have the applications for all the different markets. And I'm gonna just make like one master application too that just
Which
like
market
has
do you
all
want?
the dates and all the times. But
Yeah.
like, I think sometimes I'm like way overwhelming for people. I'm like, you can go here or here or here, and you can do this and that and that, and I like give people way too many choices, and then they're just like, what? just happened. So I'm trying to use fewer words, but it's a struggle because I have a lot to say, I guess.
Imagine like there's a lot of work that goes into putting all these markets together.
Yeah.
What do you find like is always like the most difficult
Um,
thing in your way to?
for me, I don't enjoy the administrative part of it. Like, I don't like to sit down and get on my computer and like fill out all the permit applications and work with the city and the county because like I just don't like bureaucracy, you know, but it's like part of the job and you just have to work with them, and it's just frustrating cuz like fire will say like you have a rule that you can't have cooking under a canopy, and then like you'll go to health and they'll be like, well, you have to always cook under a canopy, and so it's just like, okay, like what do I do? You know. And
So do you guys know you conflict? You know?
yeah, and it's like, you know, they always like change the rules too, so it's like you think you know it and then they're like, no, you're supposed to do it this way, and you're like, oh, okay, sorry. So that's the most challenging part of it for me, but just being there is so fun. But I guess maybe like also the amount of like hours and work, like sometimes this past weekend was really crazy and I didn't sleep very much, so I feel like I just need to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had a question, and like right as I was gonna say it, it left.
Like brain fart type deal. Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite market that you've done? Like, is there one that you look back on and you're like, hell yeah?
No, not really. I think like every market that I do has like really beautiful aspects to it, but then also challenges, you know, because it's kind of like, you know, in the city hall lot, that's kind of like historically the place that people think markets are, and so they're like, you know, you always get a lot of foot traffic there, but sometimes depending on who's coming through, it's like maybe a lot of foot traffic but not as many sales. Whereas like on the east side, sometimes you're like, holy shit, there's nobody here and this is dead. But then like each person that comes like spends $100 or $200, like because they're there to shop and they're like local and they're like trying to, you know, just really support it, and it's instead of just like looking, you know.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's just like every spot, just sort of has its pros and cons, but I love all of them, and you know, I've done markets in every season, and you know, like they're kind of rough in the winter sometimes, but also it's like, I guess sometimes like maybe the more effort or like the more suffering and freezing you have in the really early morning, like the more you sort of feel like proud of yourself than when you like at the end of the day when it like is awesome and everybody's like really grateful and happy about it. So yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like day of for the market for you?
I don't know. I say that I have like, I get on like market meth. So I'm just like, I don't know, and I feel like I have like ADHD. Like I'm like, are you okay? What's happening over here? What do we need to do? And then I'll like walk around and be like, where did I put my phone? I lost my card. And like I'm trying to just like, you know, make sure everybody is good, and then, you know, everyone's trying to talk to you and ask you questions. And then if my kids are there, then they're like, I'm bored, when are we gonna go? Or like, I'm hungry, and you know, just like, so it's just a lot of like mental juggling, but it's something that I really enjoy, and there's just always like really funny conversations that happen. Like I feel like maybe just like writing a little book or like a little, I don't know, thing of funny quotes that people have said over the years and crazy questions that people ask, and you know, it's good. So
I'm sure there'd be some good stuff in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Especially in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
What is like the craziest thing people have asked?
I mean, I guess like not really. I guess they're not really questions, but they're just like wildly inappropriate things. Like, people getting so upset about dogs coming up, and some guy was like, "That dog just shoved his nose up my crotch," and you're like, "What?" I'm like, "How?
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, yeah, and just I don't know. People just they say some really funny stuff, and like, we have a population here that like carry suitcases with them, and people are like, "Who is that person? Is there a bomb in that suitcase? You need to go take care of that." And then there's this guy, I hope I don't get myself in trouble, but there's this guy, and we call him Banjo Wars, because he always, plays the banjo real loud, and people get real upset about it. And so then we're like, all right, can you, just trying to, like, just be human with all the other humans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Service jobs and just like jobs that deal with people and community.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who aren't directly involved in that don't realize like how difficult that is to like navigate every situation like as lightly as possible.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like if you make the one wrong step, suddenly like a bunch of people are pissed off.
Yeah.
And it's usually it's a mess.
I saw a quote that said something like, servers are, what is your job description? And they're like, oh, I professionally apologize for things that are out of my control. And I'm like,
pretty much.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Do you ever deal with people buying a slot who don't know a lot about vending it in general?
Yes. Yeah, and so it's like, over the years, I'm like, okay, note to self, that's something to put on the application or on the rules or whatever. Like, all markets and festivals are done differently, but like, it is funny when you have a newbie come and they're like, okay, well, where's my tent and my chairs and my, and you're like, we have 100 vendors. Like, where do you think I have 100 canopies? Like, and just, like, it's just funny, entitled sort of things sometimes. And, like, vendors can be real picky about their spots. And so it's kind of like I'm trying to find this balance between, like, wanting to be accommodating to people as much as possible, but also, being like, well, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I work with kids, and so you say that a lot. And sometimes you have to say that with the vendors too. But, there's just like some vendors hate sun and some vendors want sun and some vendors want to be next to each other and some vendors like, oh, I don't like it over here because it's too windy, or, oh, I don't think it's good over here because I don't think as many people can see me over here. And, just like things that you're like, I don't know, like, is that really the case? But, who knows?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make it sound like all vendors complain, but it's just, it's just a lot of factors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do like what the vendors ask for, like, closely relate to where they actually end up in the market, or like how does that process work?
I think, well, again, it kind of depends on the size of the market and where you're at and what type of market it is. But like, right now I'm kind of doing like a hybrid way of laying things out. Like sometimes I'll have like a set map and tell people this is where you go. But other times I kind of like, if it's a recurring market, I kind of wait to see like the order in which people arrive, and then also just like what are they selling. Some people love to sell next to someone that's like similar to them, and then some people hate it. And so it's just like it's this juggle of like personalities and products and when they show up and what kind of vehicle they drive and like any needs that they may have. And so it's just a lot.
Sounds like it.
But it's fun. I really love it. I enjoy it a lot.
So it's not just like a pick a name out of the hat, this is where you're at type deal? It's like thought out?
Yeah, it's usually real thought out, but I guess sometimes it's kind of like I also try to check in with people. I'm like, okay, you could go here, like how do you feel about that? If I have the time and bandwidth to do that. And I think that it ends up making a better layout, because when I first started doing markets, it was kind of just this like solid, this is where you are, and like we're not moving you kind of thing. But I think if you can kind of be flexible, especially in the beginning of a market season, then it's like people will shift like where they need to be, and it's kind of works out better in my experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long does it take, like, for like your first idea to throw a market until like the day of for it to actually all come together? And also, what's like the hardest part of like putting that stuff together? Like, is finding vendors the most difficult aspect of it, or the location, or?
I think so. How long it takes, like, is I guess like how much planning time how much lead time, the more you have is like really helpful. But I'm kind of like this person that's always in like urgent mode, and so I don't know, I think I can definitely get better at like planning ahead, and I think marketing is something that I like need to work on, because I will post the shit out of something the day of, but then people are like, I didn't see it until like after it's over. So so I think like to make a good market, you should plan, at least a month in advance, ideally like 3 or 4 months in advance. And I think your question was something along the lines of, I don't know, I remember thinking of an answer, and if this doesn't answer your question, let me know. But I think like the combination, I guess, of just like marketing, getting it out. Oh, you said what was the hardest part? Like finding vendors. So like finding a location, finding the vendors, and marketing it. Like I would say those 3 things just off the top of my head are challenging, because, and just like how many moving parts there are to all of that, like I've had a really hard time this year because on the east side, where we usually do our Saturday morning markets, they're going to be doing major construction there. They're going to do a roundabout, and so they're going to like shut the street down like starting in June. And so and so we were like trying to find a new spot, but then it's like really hard to find a new spot, and like you have to like reach out to all these people and then wait till hear back, and then it's no, and then you've like lost time, and then people are like, well, when is it going to happen? And then you're like losing time that you could be advertising. And then there's even things like, if you're doing a farmer's market and you're trying to make it super accessible and take advantage of government programs like SNAP and EBT and farmer's market nutrition program, those are like, federal goes super slow. And so we ended up just choosing to stay at that spot because I'm authorized to accept all of those programs, and if I were to move, I feel like I might lose the ability to do that. And so I'm just, hoping for the best on that. And I think on the east side, because it's a locals market, like you can still access it, and it's I think it'll probably be fine. But again, it's like you don't really know until you know. But I guess for me the hardest part is just the planning, and the ability to tell vendors like for sure, yes, this is what is happening, and then marketing, because it's like I finally made this list of like all the things all the places to advertise, and to like a checklist. And I mean, it's not even like, I'm sure you guys, I'll say the list and you'll be like, oh, and you forgot about this and this and this, but it's like for any event, it's like you gotta post it on KNAU, which is like a process in itself, and then the Daily Sun, and then the DBA calendar, and then Flag 365, and then you gotta get banners, and then you gotta make flyers, and then you gotta create an event on Facebook, and then you gotta post on all the Facebook groups like Shop Local and What's Up Flagstaff and Marketplace, and like all these things. And then and then I like do all of them, and then it's just like kills me when someone is like, I didn't even know this was happening. And I'm like, but how? Like, and then, you go post flyers all over downtown and all over on all the restaurants in Flagstaff. And and then, but, and then there's always people that are like, well, did you do this? And did you send out mailers? But did you go to all the hotels? And I'm like, no, I'm just like one person, and I don't have thousands of dollars. So
make sure to page everybody.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So I got to work on my planning skills.
So in starting a new market? How do you get vendors? Do you like reach out to people who you've hadn't been in contact before, or like wait for people to contact you about it, or?
I do both. I do send out like a heads up to the people that I've worked with before, and then like I'll post it on my social media. I haven't made a website yet, which is actually another thing that I really need to do. And then I'll just make an announcement, and then people reach out on Facebook and Instagram. And I actually have NAU students too that are helping me, and they made a TikTok for me, but it's like I haven't added it into my wheelhouse yet. So
Yeah,
sure.
I forget about it, but
well, it's technically banned in the country still.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that to NAU students, and they were like, maybe you shouldn't even do it because it might not even be worth it. But I guess it's still a thing right now.
How can people follow what's going on with Mountain Town Market?
Mostly on Instagram. I feel like that's like the midlife people, and like I feel like the Facebook people, not everyone, but like Facebook is usually older people that are still on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like middle-aged people are on Instagram, and then like younger people are on TikTok, which I'm trying to get to TikTok. But anyway, so if you go on Instagram and Flagstaff Mountain Town Market, or on Facebook, that's like where I make all my announcements. And
Is it your personal Instagram?
it's not my personal Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just if you just like put in Flagstaff Mountain Town Market, which actually I'm like, oh my god, why did I make such a long name? It's like
Just abbreviate it.
Yeah, I am. I'm like trying to like slowly take the steps towards just like FMTM.
Yeah, it rolls off
Yeah.
the tongue.
Yeah. So pretty good.
This is a question from Alec. What was your original vision for the market, and how has it evolved over time?
My original vision for the market was to continue to offer the community space, and to make it unique in that it's sort of supporting all of the different ways that people can be creative or makers, and to welcome all people, but to give a special emphasis to people that have been marginalized in the past. So I like to give a special shout out and special support to women-owned businesses and businesses owned by people of color. And I think really like the core mission hasn't really changed, but just like what it looks like and what am I is still evolving, and when you're starting a new market, like I feel like food really draws people, and so I'm trying to kind of like be everybody, and so for like some of the vendors that are super good sellers of food, I will go and like pick it up and sell for them, because sometimes these like when you're a small business, you don't have that much time and that much capacity, and so if you're going to go to a market, it has to be worth it for you. And when you're first starting out, like it's sort of a risk that they take if they come all the way here and set up and they don't make anything. But so I've tried to help out a lot of vendors by taking that on myself, and so I kind of now I'm also like a delivery route person, and I go down to Phoenix and Paulden and Camp Verde, and here in Flagstaff, and I pick up produce, and I pick up artisan bread called Barrio bread, which is like a super good bread. It's like the best
so
bread.
Good.
Yeah, in Arizona. It's made with all Arizona grown heritage stone milled wheat. And I get Sonoran Pasta, who shares the kitchen with Barrio Bread down in Gilbert. And I get like pickles from Lily Mae. I get Yalatizer kefir yogurts and dips, and they're this awesome Middle Eastern company. And but it's just a lot, and like I don't know, a couple weeks ago it was like snowed so bad 2 Fridays in a row, and it was just like all the freeways were closed, and I like drove all over, and one day I ended up like just barely making it and like ending up on a random res dirt road like as it was getting dark. And I was like, okay, I was in Phoenix, and then how did I get here? But I was like, I'm gonna get home. You cannot stop me from getting home. And I got home.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you feel makes Mountain Town Market unique compared to other markets in the region?
That I incorporate all of the elements. You know, like I think most markets sort of focus like they're an art market, or they're a flea market, or they're a farmer's market. And one of the things that I just like really think that music is so important and beautiful, and that was one of the hardest things when I worked for Flagstaff Community Market, because it was like they were so busy that they didn't allow musicians, and it sort of like killed me. So at least in the Sunday market. So I really enjoy being able to support music, and I when I'm on my best game, I have like yoga classes that are free and dance classes that are free, and music at the market. So it's kind of like all of these things together, which I haven't seen at other markets, but I'm sure other places do it.
Do you have any like dream collaborations for any type of brand or vendor or musician, you know?
I really wish that I could. I mean, I guess I'm kind of already collaborating with so many people, and I really love that. But I do wish. I'm really happy to be collaborating with the Hive, and but you know, the Hive and Flagstaff Mountain Town Market at this time are LLCs, and I guess I do partner with Creative Flagstaff, which is a nonprofit, and I partner with FoodLink, which is a nonprofit, and I partner with Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff, and that's a nonprofit. So it's kind of like good to get the best of both worlds, because I'm a pretty good grant writer, and it's nice to be able to get grants so that you can sort of fund some things. So I would really like to. I've been talking with Mike from Flagstaff Music Festival, which is a nonprofit, and I would really like to maybe work on partnering with them and then writing a grant that gives me money to pay musicians every single time, because that's been just kind of one of the hard things is like I really want to pay musicians, like, I mean, and I don't even pay them that much, but like I pay them more than most markets pay to have a musician come and play. And I want to keep doing that, but it's hard because, you know, I'm like, oh shit, I'm like just barely breaking even. I'm like volunteering to do this, but
Yeah.
but you know, that's what you do when you love something, and you also have to let it grow, and the longer you stick with it, you know, it catches on. But I guess, yeah, it would just be my dream to like partner with as many LLCs and nonprofits as possible, because then you can do the best of both worlds. You know, like I think sort of some of the benefits of an LLC is like you're just a person and you can make a decision. And you're like, all right, let's do it. But like you have to work hard and make all your money, and you can lose money, and so can nonprofits. But it's like nonprofits, they all have to have a board, and so like decision making can be a lot slower. But they have that ability to write grants. But I mean, also, you know, again, so many moving parts, and on the big and large scale. And now with the current political climate, I'm kind of like, I'm happy I didn't become a nonprofit, because maybe grants are going to dry up for a while.
Yeah.
What is something that people don't realize, like what goes into like running an art market, or not art market, not just a market like this?
I think people don't realize how much work it is, and how hard it is to make one that's like super successful and sustainable. I feel like lately, in the last few years, like a lot of people have been starting markets, and that's awesome. But it's also, it's hard. It's hard to like ask people to come and, you know, set up and be there for 4 hours or more. You know, like if a typical market is usually about four hours, and you have to come and you have to set up and you have to get ready the night before and pack everything up, and it's just a lot of work, and it's beautiful and it's so much fun, but it is a lot of work.
Well, between what hours again did you say that the art market's gonna be open on Fridays?
Fridays will be 3 to 7, if you're okay with that, because I know that like your stuff kind of starts at 7, so.
As long as you don't mind us making loud noise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
like near the end of that, so.
Yeah. And Logan, when are you playing? Is your band gonna be playing the first
May
market
2nd.
we do?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'm like.
It's
so
gonna be a
excited about that.
really, really good show. A lot of awesome bands. I'm friends with most of the bands. I've been friends with them for a long time, and so
Cool.
they all make really great music. I think it's gonna be super awesome.
Hell yeah.
That's the Bethany Home Troubled Minds show?
Yeah, Bethany Home, Troubled Minds, Bummer Girl, Gone Before Us, and Practically People.
And so, how long is that concert gonna be?
Oh,
7 to-
3-ish hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. 7
It might
to
start a
10-ish.
little earlier
Cool,
because there's so
that's
many
great.
bands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if we can have a little overlap, that'd be awesome. But again, we all have to be flexible and see what works and see what doesn't, and just have a good attitude and not get in
Totally.
too many fights.
We'll try. I'll try.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm excited. I love the event that you're throwing on, and I love all the inspiration and the reasoning behind it, and I think it aligns really well with what the Hive is trying to do too. So I'm pretty excited to see what comes out of it, and I definitely think that as we do it more, there's a lot of potential for growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
I might be out. Might be emptied.
Yeah. Here's another one from Alec.
Okay.
What's the most heartwarming thing you've seen at a market?
I think just the gratitude that people express. Sometimes it's like a vendor that's like last week, one of the vendors was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to start crying. But like one of the vendors was just like, we really, really needed this market, and like we're so grateful and thank you so much, and that makes me really happy. And then people, come by that are in all walks of life, and sometimes people are really struggling. And again, last week there was a woman who was coming through, and she just like stumbled on the market, and she was like, I'm leaving an abusive relationship and I haven't eaten for days, and I gave her some food and she just started crying.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Anyway, long pause because I'm trying not to cry. But yeah, and just like how everybody just helps each other out, like
It's really building a community.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where a couple vendors, like, someone was being an asshole to one of the vendors, and, like, all the other vendors were like, oh, hell no. And they all just, like, stood up for him, and we got that guy out of there, but it's just how much everybody helps each other, and the gratitude.
There's no greater feeling than like being able to put on like an event like that and like personally witnessing like the relationships and the community that builds. It just there's nothing else like it.
Yeah,
I see that happen a lot here at the Hive too, which is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people start forming bonds through just being at a show, and I can imagine it can be the same for a market.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool. So I'm really happy to just partner with you guys. And it's gonna be good.
Yeah, we're excited. That's what life is about, man.
Yeah,
Just like
it
meeting
is.
people and experiencing,
Yeah.
spreading love.
That's how I feel about like markets and music. Is it's just like real human shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, I guess I don't really have much anything else. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, any final message to the people?
Just thank you for listening, and thank you. Please come out and support, and let's all have so much fun doing this.
Yeah.
I think we will.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Peace. That was fun.
Yeah.